Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Welcome to Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Disclaimer. The views, opinions, and beliefs expressed by guests or panelists during this broadcast do not necessarily represent those held by the host, other panelists, or CTTV network affiliates unless explicitly stated. Individuals speak on behalf of themselves. They do not speak on behalf of others, their religion. Each channel on the CTTV network functions independently with its own programming, format, and guests. Affiliate channels are not responsible for anything said or done during other affiliate broadcasts. Any views, opinions, or beliefs expressed during this broadcast are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, nationality, or individual. Reuse of any part of this broadcast is not allowed without expressed written consent from the host or founder of the CTTV network. All rights reserved. Copyright 2021. Consider This TV Network.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching now or in the future. My name is Kenny Bomer. This is Kenny Bomer Live on Consider This TV, where truth is made clear from falsehood. And I do bear witness that there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his final servant and seal of all prophets. Alhamdulillah. It's going to be a bit different show than usual, and somewhat disappointed, disturbed that I have to do such a show. And it's kind of, I don't even really know where to begin, to be quite honest. But there's some things that need to be discussed. And I'm going to do my best to try to get through this. We have a tropical storm coming here to Houston. It's going to be here within a few hours, so I don't have long to talk. But listen, so what a blame it, shaitan rajim. Okay, so I'm reluctant to have to talk about what I'm going to talk about today, for a number of reasons, and I'm very disappointed that I have to do this. But it's something that needs to be done, and I'm going to do it for the sake of Allah. It's something that I anticipated having to do a long time ago, because of some things that I've endured in my life and so forth. And so before I get into it, I think what I'll do is I'll start. I wasn't sure exactly how I was going to start, but I think I'm going to start with a surah ayat and what we should do in response. We know that the brother said I'm lagging a bit. Hopefully, am I lagging anyone? Am I lagging for anyone else? I want to make sure that I'm not lagging, because this is a very important show. And so if anyone else besides Brother Abdul Wahab, assalamu alaikum to you, brother. Now I'm not. Okay, so let me proceed. Allahu Akbar. Okay. Mehmet, assalamu alaikum, brother. Am I lagging for you? No lag. Okay. Allahu Akbar. Okay. We have a storm coming in, so I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen with that. But okay, so I'm gonna start with the Surah of the Quran, Surah Al Nur, and it's translated in English, the light. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So please bear with me as I build up to what I'm going to be discussing. I'm going to start with the Quran. And it says, "This is a highly dignified surah, which we have revealed, and the ordinances of which we have made obligatory, and we have revealed in it clear commandments, so that you may rise to great eminence." Strike the fornicatress and the adulteress and the fornicator and the adulterer on the body of each one of them 100 times, and let no feelings of pity for the two hold you from obedience to Allah in executing His judgment, if you believe in Allah on the last day. And let a section of the believers be present there at that time of the execution for their punishment. The fornicator and the adulterer cannot have sexual relations without lawful marriage, except with the fornicatress and adulteress, or a polytheistic woman or low morality. And the fornicatress and the adulteress, none can have sexual relations with her except a fornicator and an adulterer, or a polytheistic man of low morality. And this adultery and fornication is forbidden to the believers. So obviously he's setting a stipulation for the believers and those who are just wandering in this life doing what they want to. And it says, strike 80 times on the bodies of those who calumniate chaste women, basically slander chaste women, and who do not support their accusation with 4 witnesses, and never accept their testimony because it is they who are the disobedient, and it is they who break the law. Except those who repent after this and make amends, they will find Allah the great protector, forever merciful. And those who charge their wives of adultery and have no witnesses to support their charge, except their own slaves, let each husband bear testimony, repeating 4 times, over calling Allah to witness that he is surely of those who speak the truth in the matter of charging his wife of adultery. And the 5th time he should say in an oath that Allah's wrath be upon him if he is of the liars. But it shall avert the punishment from her, the wife, if she, calling to Allah to witnesses, testifies 4 times over that he is of the liars, in bringing his charge against her. And the 5th time she should say an oath that the wrath of Allah be upon her if her husband has spoken the truth about her. But for Allah's grace and His mercy, which rests upon you, and but for the fact that Allah is oft returning and the compassionate, all wise, you would have become grief stricken. Verily, those hypocrites who brought the false accusation. This is very, very important. Verily, those hypocrites who brought the false accusation against Aisha, the wife of the Prophet, are a section of your own people. And do not think this incident to be bad for you. Rather it is good for you. As for the accusers, every one of them shall have his due punishment according to that which he has accomplished in the form of his sin. And as for him, who among them took the principal part thereof in fabricating and spreading malicious scandal, there awaits him a grievous punishment. And when you heard of this accusation, why did not the believing men and believing women have a better opinion in respect of their own people and say, this charge is an obvious lie? Why did they, the fabricators of this charge, not bring 4 witnesses in support of this accusation of theirs? And since they failed to produce the required witnesses, it is they who are the very liars in the sight of Allah. But for the fact that Allah has shown His grace and mercy upon you in the present world and in the next, a great punishment would have certainly befallen you on account of that slander which you spread. And when some of you began to learn this scandal from each other's tongues, you gave tongue to that same rumor and made statements of which you had no knowledge, and you considered it a trivial thing, while it was grave in the sight of Allah. And why did you not say, as soon as you heard of it, it does not behoove us to take into talk like this. And again, it says, "Why did you not say as soon as you heard it? It does not behoove us to take into talk like this. Holy are you, O gracious Allah. This is the monstrous calumny. If you're a true believers, you should bear in mind that Allah admonishes you never to repeat such a thing again. And Allah explains to you his commandments, and Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. Those who love to spread immorality among the believers will have a woeful punishment in this world and the next. And Allah knows while they do not know the consequences of their own evils. But for the grace of Allah and his mercy that rests upon you, and but for the fact that Allah is most compassionate and ever merciful, none of you would have been so chaste and pure. O you who believe, do not follow the footsteps of the shaitan. He that follows the footsteps of the shaitan should remember that he, Iblis, surely enjoins immorality and indecency. And but for the grace of Allah and his mercy that rests upon you, not one of you should ever have been pure. Not one of you would have ever been pure, but Allah purifies him who wishes to be purified, and Allah is all hearing and all knowing. I'm going to go back up to verse 19. I'm going to read the commentary for this verse. So I'm at Surah Al-Nur, chapter 24, verse 19. And it says, spreading slanderous rumors is also spreading unchasteness and misconduct and social and family unrest. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said in authentic hadith in Sahih al-Bukhari, it says, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, beware of all guesswork about one another, all speculation, for behind such guesswork is the most deception, and do not spy upon one another, and do not try to expose other people's failings. So obviously this surah was revealed after Aisha radiallahu anha. She had been slandered and accused of committing adultery. And this issues of slander, a lot of people, sometimes they become entertained by other people's misfortunes. And Allah is telling the true believers that we should avoid such suspicions. And when we hear rumors and slanders and so forth and gossip about someone, that we should say, you know what, I don't believe that. Especially if you haven't heard it from four witnesses, as is the stipulation. Because the person who brings a slander or a rumor or an accusation against someone who cannot produce proof for that and does not have three more witnesses, it is they who are to get the punishment. And before I go into some details regarding my past, okay, I'm gonna talk about what's going on currently and why I'm doing this show. People who've been following this situation, they know that Ziad Karam, also known as Beholder Guard on YouTube, he slandered me. I mean, he's told absolute lies regarding a fire that happened this past January, the night of January the 12th, the morning of January the 13th in Nixon, Texas, which is where my ex-wife and my youngest son live. My oldest son is deceased at this point. Inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi rajiun. He passed away in June of 2019. But this past January, my ex-wife and my youngest son, their home burned down. And Ziad Karam he waited until early July to make the accusation that Kenny Bomer set up a GoFundMe to scam people out of money in order to help my ex-wife and my son because they lost everything. And just 2 or 3 weeks prior to him making this accusation, he actually asked me to perform his nikah service. And but in between time, he made some racist comments about some people in Turkey. Some of the moderators in Turkey made some very racist comments. And I tried to follow the sunnah and say, you know what, I don't believe that the brother meant what he said the way it sounded. I don't believe that's what he meant. But unfortunately, we asked him to submit an apology that he gave, a so-called apology that no one believed. And when I asked him to give another apology and clarify what he's apologizing about, he became angry. and he actually wanted me to delete a certain video. It's a long story, but he wanted me to delete a video. I thought he was talking about a different video. He called me a liar, and when he called me a liar, I was very offended by that, and I started calling him, and I was calling for a number of reasons. One, because another brother wanted to do a show about him and expose his racist comments and so forth, and talk about that. And I was telling that brother to be patient. And I was stuck in the middle. They were both mad at me at that point. I was telling both of them, listen, be patient. I don't believe the brother meant the racist comments. And so I was telling one brother to be patient. Let me talk to him. Let me get him to issue a real apology and not some fake apology that he gave before that no one believed. And so I was calling him for that reason. And then when he started calling me a liar, he also made some type of a comment about that he actually has a real job, and that for me not to be calling him right then. And well, literally, I was trying to warn him and tell him, look, I'm trying to contact you for you to issue another apology. And anyways, that message was conveyed eventually somewhere or another. It's a long story, but he made this accusation and called me a liar. And then he also said, in the midst of that personal discussion between us, that unlike him, unlike me, he doesn't have to scam people out of money through GoFundMe and so forth. I was like, what are you talking about? And this is the first instance where he in our private discussion, he accused me of scamming people out of money through this GoFundMe that I set up to raise money for my ex-wife and my son after their home burned down. And I was furious. I was very upset about that, extremely angry about that. I couldn't believe that this so-called quote unquote brother is accusing me of that. He should know better than that. He should know my character better than that. And so not only did he do that, but he refused to give it another apology. And he also, somebody's trying to contact me, but he also made a video doubling down on his racist comments. So he was trying to justify his reasoning for making the comments that he made. Listen, he offended people. Everyone's seen these comments as being racist, and so all the affiliates of Consider This TV, we all rebuked it, and we recorded a video to discuss that matter. And make a long story short, we did a stream about Hatun Tash after she was attacked at Speaker's Corner, and he's seen this as an opportunity to come on and give us a so-called apology about the videos that he had made about me, claiming that I scammed people out of money. He also contacted my son. He made long-distance calls in order to try to do his investigation. He contacted my son and was insulting me to my son, accusing my son, telling my son that my son was being investigated by the FBI and I was being investigated by the FBI, and that he shouldn't listen to his dad because his dad is a bad influence on him. His dad's going to get him in trouble. Obviously, he's talking about me, telling my 17-year-old son that. And, contacted my son, ridiculing my son, because when he contacted my son initially, he asked him, he said, yes, I was informed that you, in so many words, that your family's home burned down in January. I was just wondering if that was true, and if I can find a way to help. My son responded that yes, that did happen. My son had no reason to question who this person was, but this person's asking about the fire and making it sound like he wanted to try to help in some way. And so my son said, yes, this happened. Nevertheless, make a long story short, he's made these false accusations, claiming that me and my son were in cahoots. And recently, this past week ago, he made the statement claiming that not only was me and my son in cahoots about it, but also my ex-wife, that we're all conspiring with one another to scam people out of money. And he's made numerous videos, and he took some down. He put some back up or whatever. I don't know if they're new videos or what are, because initially I wasn't watching any of his videos, as a matter of fact, because I get so angry by the things that he's saying, and they're so preposterous. It's just totally insane. Literally insane. So he came onto that stream about Hatun Tash, and he was saying, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And he said that he had just come through 2 life-saving surgeries. He couldn't turn his camera on because he just went through 2 life-saving surgeries, and he was trying to like use that as an excuse for his actions as for the previous couple of weeks before that. But just 10 hours prior to that, he'd released a video talking very badly about Sister Katerina and Brother Charles. And within the same day, within a 10-hour period, he went from releasing this video to now he went through these 2 life-saving surgeries. If he went through these 2 life-saving surgeries, he should have still been in the hospital. But he wasn't in the hospital. He was calling us, using this as an opportunity to come and do some damage control and try to give this so-called apology that no one believed. And when I asked him for specifics about that apology, matter of fact, I'll post the links for those videos if people want to watch that. You can see for yourself. It's clear that when I asked him for specifics about the apology, he refused to give it. He just kept saying, I don't believe in anything anymore, which led people to believe that he wasn't apologizing for his accusations against me, but he was apologizing for making those things public, because that's against the Sunnah. But the thing is, there were slanders to begin with. They were false. They were lies. So things have transpired since then, and I've told him that I challenge him to come to a Shura Council stream where we're going to get some respected brothers and sisters from the Ummah that will come and sit on the panel. They will judge the situation. They'll listen to what he's got to say, look at his evidence, and then I will produce my evidence. And he's been making excuses not to do that. Okay. And part of his excuses, part of this process, he consorted with the Christian group, who looked into my past and looked at some charges that I'm going to talk about from nearly 8 years ago, almost 8 years ago, not quite, but almost 8 years ago, in order to discredit me and try to undermine my character and cause people to distrust me in some way. Now, maybe it's happened with some people may believe what he's saying, and I want to say right now, I thank everyone who does trust me, and that who have stood by me every step of the way through all of this. And so I'm going to go into some of these things that this Christian group, one of those guys there, he dug into my past and got some police reports, and he brought that knowledge to Ziad. And either he gave that information to Ziad, or Ziad might have contacted the court himself and got the information himself. I really don't know one way or the other, but I know they were in cahoots with one another. They were talking with one another about it. But nevertheless, I'm going to talk about those charges here in a moment. But so the unfortunate thing is that I have to talk about these things because I guess, as I've become more of a known publicly, more the attacks have increased, and it's almost to a point. It's nonstop. It's nearly on a daily basis. Literally, it's almost on a daily basis where either some group or some individual is trying to undermine and attack me and my character. I've been accused of being that I was accused of having committed attempted murder, have been accused of being a wife beater, have been accused of going to prison and being a convicted felon, none of which are true. None of these things are true. So I'm going to talk about these things. I'm going to talk about these charges. But it's unfortunate that we have to go into my past in order to, and as part of the issue regarding his accusations against me in 2021. What does things that transpired in my past, whether they're true or not, whether they're irregardless, if they were true or if they're not true, why are we needing to go into my past from 8 years ago to address his accusations against me from this year regarding this fire? It's a diversion tactic. The whole process is a diversion tactic because we're holding him accountable for the racist comments that he made. And in order to divert the attention, he began to attack me and my credibility and attacking me, saying that I scam people out of money. And when I challenged him to the Shura Council and told him, you come, produce your proof, I produce my proof, he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to do that. He keeps saying he's got irrefutable proof that he's going to destroy Kenneth Wayne Bomer. But he doesn't want to come to the Shura Council and let these brothers and sisters on this panel, that are going to be part of the council, let them judge. Let them hear what he's got to say. I told him he can speak all that he wants. Take all the time that you need, and give all your evidence about the fire in particular. But see what he wants to do. He wants to try to discredit me and undermine me by going into transpired 8 years ago, and trying to discredit me and trying to make me look bad, trying to embarrass me, trying to destroy me. Son, let me tell you something, Ziad. I'm a soldier of Allah, and I've been through far worse. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about some of that here in a moment. I've been through far worse. You're not going to destroy Kenny Bomer. The only one's going to destroy Kenny Bomer is Allah. And by Allah, if I'm lying about anything that I say today, if I've told any lie regarding the fire and so forth, if I scam people out of money, by Allah, I want Allah to kill me today. By Allah, I want Allah to kill me today. By Allah, I want Allah to kill me today. By Allah, if I'm lying, I want Allah to kill me today. By Allah, oh Allah, please kill me today if I'm lying about any of it, about my past, and if I'm lying about the fire. The fire did happen. I set up a GoFundMe to help my ex-wife and my son. My ex-wife is married to another man. It's not my responsibility other than my son, obviously, but I try to help them as often as I can, and I send them a lot of money. But nevertheless, I'm going to get into all that. But nevertheless, and by Allah, I pray that Allah holds Ziad Karam accountable in this life and the next. And I know that justice is coming in some form or fashion in this life and the next. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala holds him accountable for his lies and his slanders and the way he spoke to my son and everything that he's done. And so we're going to get into some of these things. And it's unfortunate that I have to go into these things that I'm going to go into because, I'll talk about that here in a moment. But so I challenged him to the Shura Council, and as a diversion tactic, he wants to go into my past and try to use that as a means to undermine me. And he said he's doing some seerah of the Prophet, peace be upon him, on his channel. He doesn't want to interrupt his seerah and so forth. But listen, Ziad, let's be honest, man. When you're slandering another Muslim the way you have, you doing this seerah, there might be some blessings involved in it, but you're neutralizing everything that you're doing on that channel, because the foul things that you say on that channel and the way you speak, the foul language that you use, the demeaning things that you say, the name calling that you engage in, you're neutralizing any good deeds. As a matter of fact, all your good deeds are inevitably, they're going to come to me on the day of judgment. And Allahu Akbar. So I'm going to get justice no matter what. But you think that you're doing good, but guess what? Those good deeds that you're doing, they're going to come to Kenny Bomer on the day of judgment, because you've lied and you've slandered me. And if you have this irrefutable proof, then why are you not coming to the Shura Council? It's set up for Saturday, September the 25th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. All he's got to do is show up. We can do it on any platform. We don't have to do it on my show. Matter of fact, I'd rather not do it on my show, because I don't want to have to work I'd rather be focused on presenting the evidence and not have to worry about working the platform and all those things. So nevertheless, I don't care what platform we do it on. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to allow myself to be put on trial based on his accusations. We're going to play the video that he's made, the videos he's made. We're going to play that for the Shura Council if he doesn't show up, which he probably won't, because he's a coward and he's a liar. But I'm willing to put myself on trial. You understand this? Because I have nothing to fear. Because truth will be made clear from falsehood. I have nothing to fear. And the evidence that I have about this fire is unquestionable. So we're going to get into that, but let's go into these charges that he's talking about. And let me mention, in my book, Consider Islam Disproving the Patriots of Propaganda, in the very first introduction of that book, I mentioned that matter of fact, let me just read just from the beginning, just real quick. I say in the introduction, without Islam, I'm incapable of maneuvering through this world and all of the obstacles that it presents. I can't do it. I've tried and I've failed. But the continuous return to prayer 5 times each day. And the remembrance of Allah has been vital in my ability to cope with some very difficult events that have transpired in my life. And no, I have not always lived in the obedience of Allah, but in His wisdom, He's called me back to Himself through a series of tests and trials that have caused me to look at life with a whole new understanding. And I state that one of those tests came in the form of an event that I would have to describe as my worst nightmare come true. I'm going to repeat that. I say that one of those tests came in the form of an event that I would have to describe as my worst nightmare come true. But I say, but now as I look back on that event, I realized that what I once seen as my greatest nightmare was actually my greatest blessing in disguise, because it was during that situation that I committed myself really more sincerely than ever before to Allah, and I devoted the rest of my life to Allah. And ever since then, that's what I've been doing. I've been striving in the cause of Allah. That's why I'm doing this, what I'm doing today. That's why the Consider This TV network exists. That's why I've been writing these books and done debates and done speaking engagements. I've been the imam for Brazosport Islamic Society. I'm a khatib here in Houston. Everything that I do is for the sake of Allah, and it all transpired because of the trial that I went through. Very difficult period of time, heartbreaking period of my life that people have used to make mockery out of me. They've made mockery out of that situation. And Ziad Karam, a so-called Muslim brother, has done that. And so let's go into that event. And I've been reluctant, I'm writing about this in the next one of my next books. Everything is a test. Truth is made clear from falsehood. Matter of fact, you've probably seen it on the screen. Let me just put it up real quick, because in this book, I'm writing this book. Everything's a test. Everything's a test. Let me put this other one up instead. I'm writing the book over there on the should be the right hand side of your test. Truth is made clear from falsehood. That's a tough book to write, but I'm writing that book because I want to help people that have gone through similar situations, and people who may face these types of situations in the future. Because what I went through was very heartbreaking to me. It caused me to experience a lot of depression, and it made me have thoughts of suicide. And I'm reluctant. I'm almost ashamed. I am ashamed to even say that, because I've always considered myself to be a strong-minded individual. But what I went through was devastating to me, and it's to have to bring it up today, after I've already lived through it. Because someone wants to use this as a way to undermine me and mock me and try to discredit me and my character and so forth is even, I guess it's still part of the ongoing test. Obviously, I mean, everything is a test, but it angers me, and it hurts me also, because this was a very difficult period of my life that I'm going to discuss. And some people know about it, and a lot of people don't know about it. But Allahu Akbar, I have nothing to be ashamed of, and other than we were talking about what I did wrong and what I did right. Allahu Akbar. So obviously, anytime we commit sins, we should be ashamed of our sins. But if we've sought true, sincere repentance from Allah, then we're forgiven, and we don't have to hang our head in shame about those things anymore, because Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the most gracious, the most merciful. So those things we can put behind us. But when the shaitan come and they find out things about your past and so forth, they want to bring it back up and start spreading lies and rumors and slanders and use it as a form of their own entertainment and entertainment for others. People are entertained by other people's hardships in their lives. I'm just another man that's endured some difficult times in my life, and I've lived through it by turning my attention to Allah, and I've been sincere ever since this thing happened. And so prior to that, I was involved in the music business and all that. And the night this incident happened, that it started the ball rolling. Matter of fact, it was January the 27th of 2014, and I was living with my wife and my two sons. My oldest son and his wife and his daughter actually lived with us as well. and everything was going fine. Had plenty of money in the bank. Everything's going fine. Had a recording studio in my home, had all kind of workout equipment, everything you could imagine. And I was actually working in the studio one night, the night of the 27th. But let me go to the night of the first and foremost, the night of the January the 1st, 2014, which was quite telling because what I did is on Facebook, I made a post and I said that if you're going to be out drinking tonight, please contact me. Don't drink and drive, but contact me so that you're not a danger to yourself or anyone else. Don't make me your designated driver, but please contact me so that you're not out on the road. And I told my wife about it, and my ex-wife, and she was angry. She was like, "Well, what are we going to do?" I was like, "Well, we're just going to be around the house anyway. We're not going out drinking or anything. I'm just trying to help people." She was actually angry at me about that, and I found that a bit peculiar. Because you would think that she would see that as something good in her husband saying that I want to help get drunks off the road so no one gets harmed. But she had a problem with that for some reason. And so let's fast forward to the night, 26 days later, on the night of January the 27th. I was working in the studio, and I came out of the studio and I went to the dining room, and she was actually sitting there with my youngest son. He was only 10 years old at the time, and my oldest son and his wife and daughter were upstairs. And when she noticed that I was there, she started fumbling with her phone. And make a long story short, that night I got her phone, and I looked, and lo and behold, I seen that she was sending messages to another man and telling the man that she loves him and so forth. And this, my ex-wife was my high school sweetheart. I'd been married to her for 22 years, and we every marriage has tests and trials, but we were happy, and seeing her tell another man that she loved him was very heartbreaking to me, to say the least. And make a long story short, this is something that I've been avoided talking about because my youngest son was only 10 years old at the time, and for a number of reasons, I've been trying to because I don't even in the book Everything's a Test. I started writing about this topic, and then I stopped, and I went on to some other subtopics in that book because I started thinking, despite the hurt that she's caused me and things that have transpired, I still care about her, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her. I sent her money for one of her. She had a surgery a couple of weeks back, and I actually paid the deductible for that. I try to help her any chance that I get. I try to help my son, and so I'd been reluctant when I started writing about it. I stopped and I was thinking because she's the mother of my sons. My oldest son has passed away, but she's the mother of my sons, and I don't want to reveal her wrongdoings to the world. And so, unfortunately, there's been some Christians, a Christian group, and Ziad Karam, who've pried into my past and looked at some charges and so forth that I was charged with that I'm going to talk about, and has almost made it impossible for me not to discuss this because of the false accusations, and they're twisting and turning the information. They don't really understand everything that transpired and so forth. So I've been reluctant to talk about it, and I'm still reluctant to talk about it. And I'm not going to go into details about what she did and so forth, but I'll just say that she was committing adultery. And I say that knowing that Allah knows that it's the truth, and there was witnesses to it. Matter of fact, as we proceed, we'll talk about a few things, but it's something that I talk about reluctantly, and it's something that I shouldn't have to be talking about. But when you got these people putting out these videos and trying to pry into your past and so forth, I just don't see any other way around it. And so, make a long story short, she was committing adultery with the man who was an ex-convict, as a matter of fact. And I was charged through all of it. I was charged with a number of charges because once I found out that this happened, I started trying to find out who this character was, and I found out where he lived and so forth. And um, she and I had some falling out, and I told her at one point to get her stuff and get out of the house, that I was done with her, and I should have stuck to that. But the thing is, I come from a broken home. As a child, I grew up in a youth home from the time that I was 11 to 18 after my parents divorced, and my younger brother and I were abandoned, and we grew up in a youth home in Missouri County Youth Home, as a matter of fact, is what it was called. And it was my greatest ambition in life to never allow my own family to go through such events. And it was something like internally that I wanted to. My greatest ambition in life was to have a strong family and never abuse my wife or my children, and not allow our family to ever separate and not go through divorce and all those things. And I tried almost to a fault to keep my family together, because it was something that meant a lot to me. I didn't want my sons to go through such a situation. And nevertheless, I found out that she was cheating. And one thing that I did do is, in 22 years of marriage, I struck my wife one time. And I struck my wife after I initially found out that she was cheating, and then I went to work one day, and I snuck home, and I called her on the phone with the guy again. And make a long story short, she was laying back on the bed. She actually tried to kick me in the face twice. And when I was trying to come and get the phone to see who she was talking to, she tried to kick me in the face twice. And as a reaction, may Allah forgive me, as a reaction, I punched her in the forehead. Allahu Akbar. May Allah forgive me. Astaghfirullah. I'm not proud of it, but it was purely a reaction. I was caught up in the emotion of it. A lot of people in these situations, people get killed in these situations. And so if I wanted to hurt my ex-wife, I could have done far worse than that. But I struck her out of in a reaction. And I see Sister Katarina's trying to reach me for some reason. Is everyone still hearing me clearly? Is everyone still hearing me clearly? Okay. Maybe she's trying to let me know that y'all can't hear me. If you can hear me in the chat, please let me know that you can hear me in the chat. Inshallah. Okay. Okay, everyone can. Okay, you can hear me. Allahu Akbar. So she tried to kick me in the face, and I just reacted, and I punched her in the forehead, and I regret it. I'm ashamed of it. Let me see what Sister Katarina's. Okay, so that was actually Katarina telling me that she just received a bunch of ugly messages from Ziyad. So no telling what that character's up to. But nevertheless, listen, so I punched my wife in the forehead, my ex-wife in the forehead, in reacting to her trying to kick me in the face as a result of me finding out that she was cheating with someone. And a number of things happened. And I was had to leave my home, had to leave my own home, and had a restraining order put on me. And I wound up through a series of about a month and a half. I was charged with about 15 different charges, and but some of those, by example, let me give you an example. I was charged with stalking while I was actually living with my ex-wife. So everything initially happened. I had to leave my home. And what she started doing is she started selling all of my studio equipment. She sold all of my workout equipment. I literally had nothing. And I just had like 2 or 3 changes of clothes that were in my truck. And I was living in my truck at that point. I couldn't even go to my own home. I didn't have access to my money in the bank. And I was stuck. And she started selling all of my stuff. And so in between time, I found out who she was cheating with, and this guy that she was cheating with is an ex-convict, and there was one morning when my ex-wife was getting everything out of our home, and she actually called me and she said, whatever you want to get of your personal stuff, meaning my clothes and my personal items, you need to come get them because they're going to be locking up the house. And so I went over there that morning. And when I got there that morning, I went through the back door. Make a long story short, the front door was locked. The front door. The lock on the front door was changed. So I went to the back door, and I couldn't get in the back door. I went to the sliding door, and the sliding door was locked. And so I was like, well, I've got to get in here and get my clothes out of here. So I broke through the door. And when I got through the door, I went through the washroom, and I was right there at the dining room. And my ex-wife, I seen her in the kitchen. Make a long story short, she actually shot at me. Okay, she fired 2 shots at me. I never threatened her. I never tried to go harm her or anything like that. And of course, I ran. So she fired 1 shot, and I thought it was, if people know what cap guns were in the past, those guns where you put the little tape through there and I thought it was a cap gun, literally, because it didn't seem very loud or whatever. And I looked at her and I said, I didn't know you was here. I thought she called me from somewhere else and was telling me to go to the house that morning to get my stuff. And so, I come around the corner, and there she is, and she reaches over and she gets the gun and she shoots. And I didn't even flinch. And because I thought it was a toy, literally, I thought it was a toy. And I told her, I said, what are you doing? I said, I didn't know you were there. I said, but what are you doing? And then I noticed the smoke come up from the barrel, right? The smoke come up from the barrel. And I was like, I'm thinking in my mind, that's not a cap gun. That's a real gun. And I said, did you just shot at me? I said, we've been married 22 years and you just shot at me? What's wrong with you? I said, what's wrong with you? And the door that I came in was to my left, and I was standing there like, I was literally like this. And I said, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? I couldn't believe that my high school sweetheart was doing the things that she was doing. And the door was this way, but I turned this way. I was like, oh, I said, like I was like just in shock. Well, when I broke the plane of the door, I was in a doorway in the washroom. So I was in the doorway, and there's a wall right here. So as I turned, I turned this way, but when I got facing the door that I just came in, she fired another shot, and it came about 6 inches above my head. It came through the wall. I actually seen the bullet come through the wall. And I of course I took off running. I was like, she's trying to kill me. I didn't do anything to her, didn't threaten her or anything. And she shot at me a second time. Allah knows the truth. I have not, by Allah, what I'm telling you, where's the Quran? By Allah, Allahu Akbar. By Allah, what I'm telling you is the truth. What people are hearing right now is the truth. You see this Quran? You see this Quran? By all these Qurans in my hand, by the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what I'm telling you is the truth. I did not try to hurt my wife. I did not threaten my wife. She fired 2 shots at me. And by Allah, I wasn't trying to hurt her or anything like that. And so when I got in my vehicle, I got in my vehicle, and the first thing I did, I called my oldest son. And my youngest son was in school. I called my oldest son. I said, son, my oldest son is passed away right now. He's passed away in 2019. But I called him and I said, son, I said, your mom just shot at me twice. She just shot at me. I said she called me this morning telling me to come get my clothes out of the house, get my stuff out of the house. But when I got there, she and her mother were there, and I said I had to go through the washroom. I had to break through the washroom door to get my stuff out of there. But let me say, the first thing that I did is I looked back at the door to see, okay, I'm gonna have to pay for the whatever damage is there, but I have to get in there to get my stuff out of there before I can't get in there and I lose all my stuff. The rest of my stuff. She's already sold a bunch of my stuff. So with that being said, I called him and I said, yeah, she shot at me, and I said I feel like she lured me over there because she told me to come get my stuff, and then when I got there, she's sitting there with a gun. And my son told me, he said, what, Dad? He said, wait a minute. He said, wait a minute. She just told Leisha, which was his wife. She just told Leisha 2 days before, 2 days ago. This is what my son told me. He said, she just told Leisha, his wife, 2 days ago that the guy that she's seeing is a Blood, which is the Blood and Crips. So he's a gang member called in the Bloods, right? And that he told that the guy that she was cheating with told her that she should just get a shotgun and kill me. So if you understand what I'm telling you, so two days prior to her shooting at me, she told my daughter-in-law, if you can believe this crazy nonsense, she actually told my daughter-in-law that the guy that she's seeing told her that she ought to just get a shotgun and kill me. She told her son, my son, my daughter-in-law. She told my daughter-in-law that, and so like she didn't feel any didn't feel odd about telling your daughter-in-law that the man that you're cheating with told you that you should kill your own husband. But lo and behold, 2 days later, she fired 2 shots at me, and guess what? I was charged with stalking. That's the first time I was charged with stalking. Make a long story short, I found out that this man that she was cheating with, I found out where he lived, and I had a brand new lawnmower, right? A brand new lawnmower that I'd bought, and I found out that he had my lawnmower. My oldest son told me that he had my lawnmower and that his mom let him use it. And I couldn't stand the thought of this man that is cheating with my wife using my lawnmower. I could not stand it. Lawnmower that I bought to maintain my family's yard and so forth. I couldn't stand the thought of this man having my lawnmower. And I've told some of the brothers about this, and I'm not telling them, telling anyone else anything different than I've told these brothers. And so I went to his house. I went to this guy's house. It was late at night, but I went over there with the sole intention of finding my lawnmower and getting my lawnmower. I could not stand the thought of this. And so I looked in his backyard. I didn't see it back there. I tried to look in the garage area. I lived in a bad part of town, and I couldn't see in the garage. It was too dark. But I turned around. His car is behind me, right? And I thought, you know what? I was mad. I was upset. I was going through a lot of emotions. I was upset, and I remember I had a box cutter in my truck. As part in my tool bag, right? And so I went and got that box cutter for my truck. I was parked down the street about 5 or 6 houses on the opposite side of the street, and I went and got that box cutter, and I came back to his car, and I cut the tires on the front on the driver's side, the front and the back tire. I cut those 2 tires. Okay, and Mila, forgive me, I shouldn't have done that, but he had my lawnmower. He's sleeping with my wife, and at the time it seemed like a good idea, but obviously it wasn't a good idea. But anyway, so when I cut the tires, obviously it's kind of loud because the air coming out of the tires. And so I start walking back down the street, and he lived in a very bad part of Houston, here in Houston, and I seen 4 or 5 guys walking towards me down the street, and I'm thinking, are these some of this guy's friends? That I thought I was about to get jumped. And so I told him, I said, what's up to him and so forth. And I noticed that one looked behind me, and he had a crazy look on his face. And right as I was getting back to my truck, and I looked back, and lo and behold, the man that she was cheating with, he had ran out into the street in just his boxer shorts. And as I was getting to my vehicle, and I noticed that he had a pistol in his hand. And right as I was getting to the door, I heard the first shot. Well, yeah, I heard the first shot. Pow, And matter of fact, I think I only heard one shot, but I heard a shot for sure because I heard the shot and I got in my vehicle and I ducked down and I put it in drive and I left. Well, lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I get a call from a detective claiming that, asking, was I over there? I was like, yes, sir, I was over there. And he said, did you have a gun? I said, absolutely not. I said, I don't own a gun. I don't have a gun. Absolutely not. He said, so you saying you didn't fire a shot at this individual? I said, absolutely. I said, no, sir, I did not fire a shot at this individual. No, I absolutely did not. I don't own a gun. I don't have a gun. No, I did not. And well, lo and behold, so despite that, I was charged with aggravated assault. This is why Ziad Karam claims that I was charged with attempted murder. No, I wasn't actually charged with attempted murder. I was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon for a weapon that I didn't have, but the man that was sleeping with my wife, he had it. He fired the shot at me. Okay, so if you understand what I'm saying here, Allah knows this is the truth. The cops came and he filed charges on me as though I had a gun and I fired. Allah knows that's not the truth. That didn't happen. I did not have a weapon. I did not fire a shot at him. This was actually the third time this individual pulled a weapon on me. And just for the sake of time, I'm not talking about the first two times he pulled a weapon on me. The same pistol. He pulled this weapon on me twice before. The third time is when he actually fired the shot after I cut his tires, right? And I was charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. But before the court date and all that, my wife and I were trying to reconcile, believe it or not. And I had an RV. I had an RV, and we lost the house and everything. She sold a lot of stuff, and the house was gone. And so my ex-wife and my son, my youngest son, and myself were living in my RV. And one night, it was a Friday night, and I was going to take my youngest son to see Spider-Man 2. As a matter of fact, it was Spider-Man. I don't know if it's Spider-Man 2. It was Spider-Man. We was going to see Spider-Man on a Friday night, and she was actually working at a hotel. She worked nights at a hotel, which was a bad idea. Nevertheless, she started working there while we were separated, and then when we got back together, I still had restraining order put on me. We weren't supposed to be around one another, but we were so-called. I thought we were trying to work everything out. We were just gonna, we're just work through it, and I was gonna forgive her for cheating on me and all those things, right? And so we were living together in the RV, and I was taking my son to the movies that night, Spider-Man, and she was going to work, and I noticed that she didn't put her wedding ring on when she was getting ready, and so I said. I kept waiting for her to put it on. She never did put it on. I said, are you going to wear your wedding ring? And she said, look, I'm in a hurry. I'll put it on. I'll put it on. I said, how long? I said, how long does it take for you to put your wedding ring on? It just takes a second. So she was having a problem putting her wedding ring on, right? And so I knew something was up. And We left the house. We left the RV at the same time. She went to work, and me and my son went to the late movie. She started work at 11 o'clock at night, and we went to the late show that night. And we might have left a little bit earlier than her, but I think we left at about the same time, if I remember correctly. Anyway, so we went to the movies, and at the movies, I was thinking, she's acting pretty strange. Something's going on here, And so when we left the movies, at that point, my oldest son, because we lost the house, my oldest son was living he had his own apartment at that point. And so lo and behold, the apartment that he lived in was right down the street from the hotel that she worked at. And so on the way back from the movies, we stopped at my oldest son's house, and we went up there. My youngest son was actually sleepy. And so I went up there, and I almost fell asleep myself, but I laid down with him for about 30 minutes. He fell asleep. And then I went up to the hotel. And when I got to the hotel, now I'd been up to the hotel numerous times. I used to go up there and mop the floor for her, go up there and just hang out with her, just talk with her, and so forth. And Matter of fact, I just mopped the floor either the night before or 2 nights before. I went up there and I mopped the whole hotel lobby and so forth for her, just to make it easy for her, right? So when I walked in, when she seen me, she had the phone to her ear. When she seen me, she pulled the phone down real quick, right? And she said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I just came up here to see you. Just came to. What do you mean? I just came up here to hang out with you." And yeah, well, you can't be here. This is my job. You can't be here. I was like, "What?" I said, I've mopped the floor up here for you on 3 or 4, maybe 5 occasions. What are you talking about? I come up here all the time. Well, she was talking real loud because she obviously she was on the phone with this guy. Okay, she was on the phone with this guy, and she was talking loud because she wanted him to hear that it was me that was there. If you understand, so she was talking on the phone with the guy that she had been cheating with, and she was talking loud, trying to let him know that I was there. Why? Because he was on his way up there. Okay, and when he heard this, and I told her, I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "You're on the phone with him." I said, "You're talking loud right now so he can hear you. You're on the phone with him right now?" I said, "You got to be kidding me, man." I said, "After everything," I said, I've been trying to forgive you, and you're still at it. What's wrong with you, man? What's wrong with you? This is our family." I said, "Don't you realize that you're destroying our family? You're destroying our family. This is heartbreaking to me." And so she's still talking loud. "You need to go. You need to go. You need to go. We're not even supposed to be together. We have a restraining order. We're not even supposed to be together. You just need to go." And I was furious. And so I was trying to go to her personal. She was on the hotel phone, and I was trying to go get her personal phone that was right around the corner. And when I was trying to go to it, she came over there. She was pulling me and so forth. And guess what? I went ahead and left. I left, and lo and behold, that was a Friday night, right? That was a Friday night, and I went ahead and left. And she worked nights, so that Saturday morning, she never did show up back at the RV. She never did show up, and so me and my son were just there. And of course, I'm crying. I'm upset. I'm like, I can't believe that she's doing this. She's still doing this. And I have been trying to forgive her and trying to keep my family together despite the hurt and the anger that I feel. I'm trying to keep my family together and just overlook her what she's done and the situation that we're in. We lost everything. Had a 2-story house, had a brand new car, brand new truck, an RV in the driveway, recording studio in my home, and all kinds of thousands of dollars of workout equipment, and all of it's gone. Everything's gone, and we're living in a trailer, a little RV, right? And so I'm thinking, what's wrong with her? I'm very depressed. I'm crying. I'm upset. I'm trying not to, show it in front of my youngest son, but I'm a type of person that I don't hide my emotions very well. If I'm angry, you know it. If I'm happy, you know it. If I'm I'm very easy to read as far as maybe to a fault that I don't hide my emotions very well. And so I was struggling with trying not to stress my youngest son out and so forth. And so she didn't show up that Saturday. But come Sunday morning, about 9:00 that morning, the next day, Sunday morning, she comes and she knocks on the RV door, and I come to the door and I told her, I said, "Look, even though I was hurting, I was in pain. I said, what do you want?" I said, "You're not coming in here. Just go about your business and just leave me alone." And she said, "I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. I'm scared." I said, Scared of what?" And she said, I need to talk to you. I said, "Okay." I said, "Just hold on one second." I said, "But you're not coming in here." So I said, we had 2 lawn chairs outside the RV. And I said, "We could talk outside the RV. I don't want Boogie to, call my youngest son Boogie." I said, "I don't want Boogie to hear what we're talking about. And we'll just sit out there and talk." I said, "But you're not coming inside. No matter what, you're not coming inside." And okay, all right. So we got out there on the lawn chairs, and And I said, so I told her, so what's the problem? I said, for one, where have you been? I said, never. I said, never mind that. I know where you've been. So that's a dumb question, but what's the problem? And she says, I'm scared. And I said, scared of what? What do you mean? What do you mean scared? What are you scared of? She said, I'm scared you're going to go to jail. I said, go to jail for what? She said, I just came from the police department, and my boss seen the videos from the other night. They knew that you were up there. The cops came up there. I said, the cops came up there I said nothing. I didn't do anything. So what do you mean? She said, they made me go press charges because you were up there. They know that we're supposed to be separated, and they don't want any stuff going on up at the hotel. And they made me press charges. And she says, and one of them's a felony. I said, a felony? What are you talking about? Felony for what? She said for stalking. I said stalking. I said we were living together the same day. What are you talking about? I said, what do you mean stalking? And she said, yeah, there was like 5 or 6 charges filed, and one of them's a felony, and it was stalking. I said, stalking. I said, lady, we were living together that same day. How am I stalking someone that I lived with that same day? I lived with you. I've been mopping the floor up there for you. I've been hanging out up there with you. How was I stalking you? She said, I know, but that's the charges that they put, because we have a restraining order, and they said that it equates to stalking. I said, well, did you tell them that we were living together? And I don't really remember what she said about that, to be honest. But I was just shocked that, wait a minute, I've got these other charges, and now I've got 5 or 6 more charges. What's going on here? And make a long story short, I was charged with unlawful restraint, because when she came for the phone, I told her, I said, look, don't put your hands on me. And I had her by the shoulders. I wasn't jerking around. I could have beat her up bad if I wanted to. I could have done anything I wanted to her at that point. But I said, listen, don't put your hands on me. And I said, I already had the phone and put it in my pocket. I said, you're not getting the phone, but don't touch me. Just go on about your business. I had her by the shoulders, and they called that. I just had her by the shoulders, right? I wasn't harming her, didn't leave any marks on her, didn't hurt her, but I was charged with aggravated assault against a family member and unlawful. So I was charged with stalking, interfering with the 911 call. Let me talk about the 911 call for a second. She actually didn't make the 911 call. The guy that she was cheating with, that was on the phone with her, he hung up and he called the cops. So the man that she was cheating with, he's the one that called the cops. But I was charged with interfering with a 911 call that she never made. Okay, so I was charged with interfering with a 911 call, aggravated assault against a family member. I didn't even assault her. I was charged with unlawful restraint, which would be equivalent to putting someone in a headlock. I didn't do any of that, and I was charged with stalking, breaking a protective order, and 5 or 6 charges that night. Make a long story short, I was charged with numerous things in the events of all this, and when I went to jail, because of those charges, and because I had a court date for the other charges that I had to go to, and then when I went to that court date, I had to go. They picked me up at the court for the new charges, so I had to go back to jail. I was out on bond. I had to go back to jail. Make a long story short, these 15 charges that I was charged with, one was in Harris County. Anyways, I was charged with 15 charges overall, 14 or 15 charges, but these 15 charges. And when I went back to court for one of the pretrial court dates, I had to go to court, and they picked me up on the new charges. Now, remember, she left the police station, left the police station and came straight to me. I'm going to say it again. She left the police station and came straight to me, telling me that she was afraid that I was going to go to jail for the charges that she just pressed. Okay. So if that makes sense to you, okay, this is what happened by Allah. This is what happened. She left the police station where she was supposedly assaulted and I put her in unlawful restraint, and I interfered with a 911 call. Supposedly, I was stalking her and all these things. It sounds like a person that should be in fear, right? But no, she wasn't in fear of me. She was in fear of what was going to happen to me that inevitably wound up happening to me. I did go to jail. And but again, she went from pressing these charges to leaving the police station, literally left the police station in Lake Jackson, Texas, and went to where we parked our RV in Surfside, Texas. It was only 15 minutes away, and left the police station that morning and came straight to me to tell me that they made her job, made her press charges, or she would have to stop working there. She could either press charges to make sure that I didn't come up there anymore, or she couldn't work there anymore because they didn't want any of the drama. Okay, so again, does this sound like a person that was in fear that I was doing something to her, that I'm a wife beater, that I was trying to kill her or do anything like that? By no means. By no means. I did not abuse my wife. I struck her one time in 22 years, and that was after she tried to kick me in the face twice, and I just responded. It was just a reaction, and I feel ashamed of that. But that's not a felony, and that's not it's nevertheless. So I got picked up at court, and I went to jail, and I stayed in jail for 315 days. My bonds were doubled or tripled, went up to $165,000. There's murderers, the people who commit murder, they get far less bond than that, far less. My bonds were $165,000. Now this is after I've had at least three bullets shot at me, and possibly a fourth bullet, and if had all these, had lost everything that I had. Lost everything, but I was the bad guy. Allahu Akbar. I was the bad guy. It was my face that was in the local news. Estranged husband tries to assault wife. Wife fires shot at husband. Estranged husband, whatever it is. Kenny Bomer's face on the front page. That's the morning whenever I said that I feel like she lured me over there I think she was literally trying to kill me at that point. Based on what she told my daughter-in-law just 2 days prior. And but I was charged with all these charges. And while I was there, I received divorce papers. And even after the divorce papers, guess who started coming to visit me? My ex-wife. She started coming to visit me, and she would cry and cry. Nearly every time that she would come, she would tell me, "I'm so sorry that I did all this to you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And I would tell her, "Don't worry. Everything's gonna be all right. I still love you. Everything's gonna be fine. I'll get out, and everything will be fine. Don't worry." And I said that Allah's gonna take care of it. She wasn't a Muslim, by the way. I was a Muslim. She wasn't a Muslim, but I said Allah's gonna take care of everything. And while I was in jail, it was a very difficult time. I was in the maximum security side of the county jail. I wasn't in prison. Let's clarify. Kenny Bomer has never been to prison. I'm not a convicted felon. Let's make that clear. I went to jail for 315 days at the Missouri County Jail, and I've never been to prison, nor am I a convicted felon. Those things that I was charged with, I wasn't convicted of those things. Let's make that clear, okay? And so she would come to visit me, and she was saying, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." She'd cry and cry, and I said, "Don't do that. You don't have to cry. Everything's gonna be fine. We all make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Just ask for forgiveness, and everything will be fine. Don't worry." In the meantime, I was in the jail, and I was reading the Quran, and I was, I was in there during the month of Ramadan, and a Muslim brother came from another jail. He actually brought 2 Qurans in his personal property, and he gave me one. Matter of fact, let me show you the Quran. Allahu Akbar. The Quran that he brought me, that he gave me. Where is it? The Quran that he gave me, there it is right here. The Quran that he gave me, the Muslim brother, may Allah bless him, is this Quran right here. You see, recently I put tape on the back because it started falling apart. But this Quran right here, Allahu Akbar, I had this Quran in jail with me. Matter of fact, I used to put it under my pillow and I would sleep. I would sleep with it under my pillow because this is the only comfort that I had. Praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and reading this Quran. I read the Bible a little bit too, but the Bible started contradicting itself too much. I had to move on out of there. But the Bible did help me in some things, but I have to say that it did help me in some ways. But the Quran, Allahu Akbar, this is what did it for me. And remember, I've already been a Muslim for 30. I've been a Muslim almost 36 years. But you see some of these highlights. You see some of these highlights that you see, and some people don't write in their Quran, but I was in jail, and this is the only way I had to take notes. And of course, we're not actually changing the Arabic and so forth. I was writing and making notes in the English translation, but this is I didn't have any paper, and so I wanted to make notes on certain things. So that so these things that you see, these notes that you see in here, these are notes that I made while I was in jail. These are notes that I made while I was in jail. You see more. You see the highlights and the notes that I'm making there. So this is the Quran that I had while I was in jail. The brother gave it to me. It just so happened to be the month of Ramadan. And the way he knew that I was a Muslim is because he had only been there for a day or so, and he seen me go, Allahu Akbar. I would go pray I was in a 20-man cell, and he started saying, he seen me pray, and he said, brother, he said, I've seen you going to Salat. He said, I want to start praying with you. He said, I didn't think there was any Muslims in here. And he said, matter of fact, he said, do you have a Quran in here? I said, no, brother, I don't, but I wish that I did. He said, I've got two in my property. I'll put a request in to have one brought to you. And this is the Quran. And that was at the county jail. I've never been to prison. Let's clarify that. Let's clarify that. But this is the Quran, Allahu Akbar, that the brother gave me, and this is very very precious to me, obviously for numerous reasons. But there was a period of time when I was in jail that I would actually go call the Adhan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and make a long story short, most of those people in there there were Christians in there. Besides him, he's the only Muslim that ever came in there. While I was there, I was in there for 315 days, right? And I couldn't get out because I was waiting for the court dates. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But I was waiting for the court dates, and so. But while I was in there, I would go and I call come time for the prayer. I go do the wudu, and I had to guess because I didn't have a clock. We didn't have a watch in there. So I just had to, sometimes I would get the guard and say, hey, what time is it? I didn't know what time the Adhan would be called because I didn't have access to it. And I certainly didn't have an app I didn't have a phone on my app, or app on my phone rather. I didn't have a phone at all. So I had to set my prayer times for certain times of the day based on, what time we ate and so forth. And so but there was a period of time in there, Allahu Akbar. There was a period of time in there when I would go and I would call the Adhan, that everything would go quiet. And matter of fact, I'd hear him saying, Mr. Bomer's praying. They go. Now these are guys that I was locked up with most of them had been to prison already. They'd been to prison, right? And some of them been to prison numerous times. These are people that are in there for serious charges. And of course, I was amongst them, but my charges, I wasn't actually guilty of my charges. I was just charged, right? And so, hold on one second. So, Allahu Akbar. So, I would go call the Adhan, right? Everything would go quiet. They'd turn the TV off. They'd stop banging the dominoes on the table. Everything go quiet. And they would let me pray. And then eventually I had three come and say, hey, Mr. Bomer, whenever you pray, we don't know what you're actually saying, but when you pray, can we come and pray with you? Every time you pray, can we pray with you? These are Christians now. And I told them, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what I'm saying. I said, so when I would recite the Quran, I would actually, I would either, I would recite it in Arabic, and then I would repeat it in English. Sometimes I would just only do it in English for their sake, depending on who was lining up with me, so that they would understand what's being said and so forth. And then I would explain to them that the Quran is in the Arabic language and so forth. So I was already doing the dawah. I was doing the dawah, and I promised Allah when I would pray with my I would put my towel or my blanket, usually my blanket, on the floor as my prayer rug, and sometimes I would cry and cry and cry. I was very heartbroken. I was depressed, and going to the prayer was my only comfort. It was my only comfort. And the people who watch the show, you notice that I've said numerous times that in my personal dua, I say, "Oh Allah, you're my comfort, my peace, and my protector. I cannot make it without you." I started saying that every dua while I was still in jail, and I mean it, because I lost literally everything. I lost everything, man. I lost my home. I didn't have my family. My wife of 22 years sleeping with another man while I'm in jail. She's with another man. A very lowly, matter of fact, a very lowly individual. And I was broken inside, man, and I literally had nothing. And I realized, you know what? All I have is Allah, and by Allah, that is all that I need. Allahu Akbar. All I have is Allah, and Allah is all that I need. No human being on this planet, even my new wife, and she's a beautiful woman inside and out. And I told her last night, and she understands when I'm telling you this, but I told her just last night that no human being will ever affect me to the point that I can't function, or I'm depressed, or I think of suicide or anything like that. Never again. That doesn't mean she's a great woman, by the way. She's a great woman. And in that jail cell, I began praying to Allah. Oh Allah, I ask you to send me a Muslim woman. Send me a good Muslim woman. And I don't know if it's going to be if at some point my ex-wife was going to accept Islam. This is in my prayer in the dua. I would say, oh Allah, I don't know if she will ever accept Islam. Maybe it'll be her. I would like to be able to keep my family together. I would like to keep my wife for 22 years. Maybe it'll be her. But if not, please send me a good Muslim woman. And Allahu Akbar, that's what he did. Allahu Akbar. But these things that I started implementing in my life happened while I was in jail. My greatest nightmare, 100-fold. I couldn't believe that what I was going through. I couldn't believe it, man. I can't really even explain it. Me trying to explain it and verbalize how I felt, I do it in injustice. I can't explain it to you. I was devastated. Being in that jail environment with all kind of nonsense going on constantly. It's constantly loud. My only refuge, I read 73 books in that 315-day period. I read 73 books, and I made some makeshift earplugs. I put the earplugs in, and I think that's when my eyes started going bad because I was reading in the dark. I did have some reading glasses, but I had the reading glasses because I used to have really good, like great vision. Of course, everyone gets older and you lose your vision, but nevertheless, I started noticing that I couldn't see good anymore because I was trying to read in the dark. It was my only refuge was to read. That's why I tell people to be readers instead of repeaters. My only refuge. That's why all around me is books. You can't see them, but all around me is books because that was my refuge. Seeking knowledge about Allah, even to a greater extent than I ever did before, far greater extent than I ever did before, because that was my only peace and comfort. That was my only escape from that everything that I was going through. The not only the physical being locked up physically, but emotionally and mentally. My only freedom came from saying Allahu Akbar. Oh Allah, please help me. I can't make it another moment. I can't make it. I prayed. Listen, I was so hurt. There was times that literally makes me want to cry right now. As a matter of fact, Allahu Akbar. I'm not going to do it though. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Okay, so listen, I'm a little bit ashamed because Alhamdulillah, I'm a little bit ashamed of some of the prayers that I asked, I submitted to Allah because I was praying sincerely. Some of the most sincere prayers that I had ever submitted to Allah, and I was okay. All right. So everything in this life is a test, and so I was so hurt and so. And there was some of the time that I was in jail, I had ups and downs, and there were times that I asked Allah uh, to not allow me to wake up. I prayed so sincerely, and I said, Allah, please don't. Okay, so can you bring my towel over there, please? Thank you. Okay, Allahu Akbar. All right, sorry about that. Listen, but there were times when I was in jail that I was in county jail. I wasn't in prison. I never been to prison. These liars and slanderers. Anyway, there were times when I sincerely prayed to Allah and asked Him to not to not wake me up in the morning. I was literally praying for death. I was literally praying for death. I was so hurt, and the thought of I was having to endure everything that was going on in the jail. Jail is so disgusting. The things that people do in there. Some of the people that are there, they're like animals in there. I'm serious. May Allah have mercy on everyone. But so some of the things going on there is so disgusting and animalistic. It's crazy. But so I was having to endure that, and at the same time, always constantly wondering what's going on with my family, and where's my wife, and she's sleeping with this other man, and so forth. And it was very difficult, very difficult. And so I prayed that Allah that He wouldn't wake me up in the morning, that I would just go to sleep and just not wake up. And at one point I got some socks, and I was trying to find a way to praise be to Allah. I was trying to find a way to kill myself with these socks. I don't think I would have ever been able to achieve it because it just wouldn't have worked. But I was sure contemplating it, and I was praying to Allah, please don't wake me up, Allah. I can't do it anymore. I just can't do it. Okay. One thing I always say is everything is a test and Islam is the answer. Anyone who knows me knows that I say this all the time. Everything is a test and Islam is the answer. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. Okay, so I said earlier that I don't hide my emotions very well. So all right. Alhamdulillah. Okay. All right. So I had some tough times in there, and so she started, and then she just stopped. Okay, she just stopped coming, and I remember it was going to be our 21st anniversary. It was going to be our 21st anniversary, and I remember I was praying to Allah, oh Allah, please let her come see me, please let her come see me. And I was actually excited about it. And then she during some of that time she was writing letters telling me she loved me and that and so forth, all these things. And then she stopped coming to see me. And then I was praying that she would come and see me for our 21st anniversary, and she came to see me. But then not long after that, she stopped again. And so I was like, here we go again. She was coming twice a week. Now she's not coming at all, and she just stopped coming. Well, lo and behold, the man that she had been cheating with, he wound up beating her up. Matter of fact, he had a towel. Matter of fact, he would wrap a towel around his hand. She told me, and she told me this while I was in jail. He was actually in jail. He was in the same jail that I was at for a period, and I had a truck that I'd bought a truck in 2008 that I wound up giving to my oldest son, and the man destroyed that guy she was cheating with. She started seeing a different man while she was working at that hotel. She started seeing a different man. She's actually married to that man now. And actually, I like the man that she's married to now. The other guy was trash, but I actually am friends. I say friends. I don't hang out with him or anything like that. But I'm actually like him. I like him far better than this other guy. And it wasn't really his fault. None of this stuff was his fault. But other than the fact that he was seeing my wife while we were while I was in jail. But anyway, so she started seeing a second man. And while I was in jail. And so there we went again. Ups and downs. And I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously Allah was testing me to say, you know what? Is your obedience going to be truly to me? Do you truly trust me? Are your prayers real whenever you're praying? Allah's going to test us through these things. When we make statements and declarations, Allah's going to differentiate the Muslim from the mu'min, the true believers, right? He's going to differentiate us. He's going to set a pathway for us to uplift our status before Allah. That's why there's 7 levels of paradise, Allahu Akbar. Because those who he loves the most are those who he tests and tries the most. I'm going to say it again. If you're not being tested and tried with something, you better check your status, because Allah tests those who he loves the most. I know Allah loves me. Because the tests keep coming and I keep going back to war with it, because I'm a soldier of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can't phase me, Ziad Karam. You cannot phase me, all you people with Patriot Radio. You can't phase me. Yeah, you've seen a few tears drop, But I am a man. I'm a soldier of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Kenny Bomer means what he says and he does what he means. And I am mujahid, right? One who strives in Allah, one who fights in the cause of Allah. You cannot defeat me. Only Allah is my is the only one who can stop me. Iblis can't stop me. The shaitan can't stop me, nor can they stop any true men. They can't stop us. Only decisions stop us. Only Allah can stop us. Only our bad decisions can stop us, right? But if we keep striving in the cause of Allah, we keep Allah first in everything that we're doing, be sure the tests and trials are going to come. But this is a way for Allah to uplift our status. Think of all the things that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through, losing all of his children, his wife accused of adultery and so forth, all the slanders and the mockery and the attacks and being rocked and stoned and having pig entrails thrown on him while he's in the prayer and so forth. And he's still striving in the cause of Allah. This is the example that we live by. So, matter of fact, this Patriot Radio people, they just accused me last week making the videos, 5 different channels, of accusing me of, while I was actually defending the Prophet against the accusations that he's a pedophile, they claimed in their videos that I called the Prophet, peace be upon him, a pervert. I would never do such a thing. That's absurd. The thing is, they know I would never do such a thing. They know I didn't say such a thing, but they still use these as attacks. And they got video after video, dozens of videos about Kenny Bomer out there. Kenny Bomer must be doing something right because the shaitans keep gunning. The shaitan keep gunning, but guess what? Kenny Bomer ain't running. I'm not running from nobody. I'm not going to run from Iblis. What can Iblis do other than get the shaitan to come and whisper suggestions? We don't have to accept those suggestions. No, a soldier of Allah says, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to stay on the path of Allah. You can go on about your business, get away from me, and fight the battle on a spiritual level. It's all spiritual, right? And if we put our trust in Allah and we follow Allah's guidance, then we have no reason to fear. And so I was charged with a number of things, and these people are trying to make mockery out of my life and taking this very difficult situation that I've already lived through and trying to make it resurface as though I was actually guilty and literally accusing me of attempted murder, saying that I was charged with attempted murder, whatever, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Okay, well, guess what? I wasn't guilty of it, and trying to bring up the fact that I'm having to sit here on September the 13th, 2021, and talking about a very difficult period of time of my life back in 2014 through 2015 and so forth, and I shouldn't have to be talking about this all because someone slandered me regarding a GoFundMe that I was trying to help this same ex-wife. Remember, this GoFundMe, put all this in context. The same GoFundMe is me still trying to help this ex-wife of mine that did all these things to harm me. That's who Kenny Bomer is. If you want to know who Kenny Bomer is, that's who Kenny Bomer is. Why? Because that's what Allah would expect of us. I forgive her. Matter of fact, I don't even want to be talking about the things that I'm having to talk about and revealing this information about her. But they forced my hand to do so because the threats. Now the threats are that if I don't stop talking about this, that he's going to come and he's going to reveal all this information, calling me a murderer, attempted murder, a wife beater, alcoholic. We're going to get on that in a second, and all these things, right? But guess what, Ziad? You've already said all those things. But what he wants to do is he wants to make a video and repeat all this thing and read the police reports. Now, guess what? We all know that police reports, they're going to add to the police reports. The police reports are always going to look ugly. They're going to make the person look like they're totally guilty. But a person is not guilty until they're what? Proven innocent. A person is not guilty until they're proven innocent. And the fact that I didn't go to prison proves that I was not guilty. I didn't go to prison. I sat in jail for 315 days because I didn't have money to get out. Why? Because everything was gone. I didn't have money to get out. Right? So I had to sit there. Matter of fact, they reset one of my court dates 5 months. I went to court. They said, all right, we're going to reset for such and such. They reset it for 5 months. So that means 5 months that I just had to sit there, right? So inevitably, eventually, I found out in October of 2015 that my mother passed away while I was in jail. And make a long story short, I actually was able to get out on a I was what's it called? I can't remember what's it called, a furlough. I was able to get out on an 8-hour furlough to go to my mother's funeral, but my mother's funeral was actually earlier in the day, and I didn't get out until after that. And it was all by the will of Allah, and I had faith in Allah that I was going to be able to go attend my mother's funeral. Okay. But I actually missed it. It was actually at 2 p.m. that day, and I didn't get there till about 8 p.m. Okay. But all the family stayed there until I got there. But the way this happened is that my one of my cousins came to see me while I was at the county jail, and she told me that my mother passed away, and I actually paid for my mother's funeral from while I was in jail, because I told my cousin where my RV was, and I told my cousin to go get my RV and sell it and use that to pay for my mother's funeral. And they also used part of that money because they went to talk to the judge, and the judge said that if they could get a lawyer that would sign off on it for me, sign off on the furlough, and sign on the bond for it, and also an armed guard to pay the armed guard, that they would let me out, that I could go to the funeral, that I had to come back the same within 8 hours. And so that's what I did. And but my cousin, the lawyer that they got. His name is Josh Rice. Matter of fact, he's on my Facebook. Go talk to him about it if you don't believe it. His name is Joshua Rice. Josh Rice. He's on my Facebook. He's my friend. He's my ex-lawyer. He was my lawyer. But anyways, he's the one that came, and my cousin hired him and the armed guard to come and take me on this furlough to go to my mother's funeral. And during that trip, I told Josh, the attorney, I told him what happened to me. I told him, look, this is what happened. And my cousin knew him from an accident that him and his father had settled for them years before. And his father was an attorney, and then he was an attorney. And so I told him what happened. I told him, look, this is what happened. He's like, oh man, this is terrible. He said, something's got to happen. I had a so-called attorney that wasn't doing anything. But so make a long story short, I wrote him a letter after I got back to the jail. A few days went by, and I told him, look, man, if you can help me deal with this and help me figure out something. I told him I work for the American Petroleum Institute. I make good money when I'm able to work. I will pay you, and please help me. As a matter of fact, I'm a Star Wars fan. If people been watching the show, I got R2-D2 and I got the X-Wing fighter noises on my phone. And my last line to him was, I told him, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope, which obviously allows my true hope. But you understand, I was just trying to tell him, look, I need your help. Make a long story short, he took over as my attorney with no money. This attorney got me out of jail free. Allahu Akbar. I got out free, but I was put on probation, right? And I was put on probation, and part of the probation was that I wasn't supposed to have any contact with my ex-wife. Now, guess what? The day that I got out of jail, my oldest son who passed away, he handed me a phone. He said, this is the phone that mom bought you. She wants to talk to you, talking about my ex-wife. I was like, okay. Well, she started calling me. She wants to see me. She wants to get back together, right? And make a long story short, I went back to work, and I was on probation. I wasn't even supposed to be around her, or I could be charged again. They could break my probation, and I could actually go to prison at that point if I broke my probation. But I started seeing her again. I was working, and I was actually on an inspection job in Pasadena, Texas, not far from here. And matter of fact, this was on our 22nd anniversary. So remember, I told you I was in jail during our 21st anniversary. During our 22nd anniversary, I was at work, and I received a text from her and said that me and my youngest son, she said, we're going back to Brazoria. which is where the man that she's married to now, which is where he was living at the time. That just out of the blue, we hadn't been fighting or anything. She just going back over there, and she went back over there on our 22nd anniversary. So there I went back into another depression, right? And at that point, I was actually angry at Allah, and I encourage people to never become angry at Allah and never doubt Allah. Stay, have sabr and fight through everything. Because what I did, I was like, you know what, just forget everything. I stopped praying for a little while, for a few months, and just like I started dating different women. And one of the women that I was dating, I was still on probation. We went out to eat, and I was ate a steak. While I was eating a steak, I ordered a Bloody Mary. Okay. Ordered a Bloody Mary. I was on probation. Wasn't supposed to have any alcohol. As a Muslim, not supposed to have any alcohol. But at that point, I was like, you know what? Just forget everything. I wasn't in the right frame. I wasn't in the right mind, my right mind. And I drank one Bloody Mary while I was eating a meal. Okay. And I drank alcohol. Right. And so because of this, I started working after that inspection job. It was just a project that I was working on. After it ended, I started working for a Muslim brother at what's called the Brazos Mall in Lake Jackson, Texas. He had a jewelry store, and I was working at the jewelry store. And one day while I was at work, I got a call from my ex-wife about one of my sons, about my youngest son. And I was talking to her, like, what's going on? Yeah, okay. I'm talking to her. And lo and behold, my probation officer walked up from behind me. I didn't know she was back there. And I said, well, that wouldn't happen if you wouldn't have been cheating on me and running around with other men. I said, we none of us would be going through any of this. I was talking to my ex-wife. Well, lo and behold, my probation officer was right behind me. And I wasn't supposed to have any contact with my ex-wife. And so she asked me, who are you talking to? Are you talking to her? I was like, no, ma'am. Well, I lied to her, right? Make a long story short, I had to go back to court, and as part of the court punishment, I had to go take a lie detector test to find out if I was lying about anything else, because I'd been communicating with my ex-wife about my sons primarily, just only about my sons. And I mean, a man and a woman should speak about their children. So I was like, you telling me I can't talk to my ex-wife about my children? I mean, that's absurd, man. So nevertheless, because of that, I had to go take a lie detector test. And in the midst of the lie detector test, the man asked me, have you done this? Have you done that? No, sir. No. When he asked me, have you consumed any alcohol? I said, yes. He said, okay. I said, what did you consume? I said, I had one Bloody Mary with a meal that I had. And so because of this, I had to go back to jail for 30 days, okay, because I broke the condition of my probation at that time. And so when you look at the police reports and all that, and you look at the court records, it looks like I failed the polygraph test. But I didn't fail the polygraph test. I failed the stipulation that the polygraph test was trying to get to. They were trying to find out if I broke any other conditions of my probation. And it's not that I lie. I didn't lie and get exposed in the polygraph test. I did not lie during the polygraph test. I was in trouble because what I told the truth about was something that I was breaking the condition of my probation. So in that sense, if that makes sense to anyone, in that sense, that's why I was quote unquote failed the polygraph test. But I didn't fail it because I told a lie. I failed it because of the condition the point that it asked me about. I was guilty of breaking the condition that it asked me about, not for lying about it, but for breaking the condition that it asked about. So I went back to jail for 30 days. And as a result of that, after I got out, I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to the court. Matter of fact, if you see this right here, it says court, right? And I've had this ever since. And in this, I'm not going to read it because it's 16 pages long, but this is a letter to, you see right here, it says Kenneth W. Bomer. It has my old address there, but it says to the Honorable Judge Huffstetler, the 300th District Court, Missouri County. And I say, I'm writing this letter to you honorably and respectfully, as a, whatever I said. I don't remember what I said in it. I'm writing this letter to you humbly and respectfully as a means to reveal things to you about myself in relation to the charges that were filed against me in 2014, as well as the purpose for the hearing on 2/23/18, which was a hearing to be able to get off probation or not. And it says, in this effort, I'm attempting to seek fair and reasonable understanding about all that has transpired in my life prior to, during, and within the last 4 years as related to those charges. This letter is by no means an attempt to sidestep the things that I am guilty of or to justify any of my actions that were in violation of state law. I fully accept responsibility for any and all wrongdoing in my past and humbly ask for fair consideration for the things that I was accused of, that I have had limited. I asked for fair consideration for the things that I was accused of, that I have had limited opportunity to address. I know you are busy, but I ask you to please take time to read and consider all that I say in this letter with fairness and understanding as you consider what is presented. So when I went to court on this, and this is 16 pages long. This is 16 pages long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pages long. I wrote this letter to the judge. Let me show you something real quick. Part of it, I was showing him. If you notice, this is, I don't know if you can see here, but here's me and my new wife right here. It's my new wife. But this is me and my ex-wife. And this picture right here is when we were living in the RV, the period of time whenever we were living together and I was charged with stalking. This is just a couple of days before that. We lived together. And I was charged. As a matter of fact, there's a screenshot here where she's telling me, she says, I don't know what I told her before this, but she says, I won't, Kenny, I love you. She says, I won't, Kenny, I love you. And I told her, I don't want, what did I say? I don't want to hurt anymore. And she says, I know, I and we will make our marriage better than ever, and so forth. So this is during that period of time when I was charged with all this, right? And anyway, so this is anyway, I wrote this letter, and my new wife, Mika, she's in the other room. She went with me to court that day. And when the judge called me when the judge called me up there, the very first thing he said to me, he said, Mr. Bomer, he said, you want me to tell you what your problem is, Mr. Bomer? And at that point, I was like, there's no telling what he's about to say now. He's probably going to send me on to prison, I guess. I didn't know what he was going to say, but he said it kind of like serious. He said, Mr. Bomer, you want me to tell you what he said, you want me to tell you what your problem is, Mr. Bomer? I said, yes, sir. He said, it's 6 inches below your chin. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about, but he said, it's 6 inches below your chin, your heart. He said, you've got a big heart. And he said, I think some things transpired that were a bit out of your control. He said, but after reading that letter, he said, I understand. He said, matter of fact, I gave it to the probation, and they conclude the same thing, that I think things just got out of hand, and you were charged with some things that you didn't necessarily do. And he said, but I think you would agree with me that you made some bad decisions. He said, you should have just went on and let that woman go. You should have just let her go. He said, because that was. He said, I understand your effort and you were trying to keep your family together. He said, but you should have just let her go. And Allahu Akbar. So, but guess what? He let me off of probation. And I wasn't a convicted felon, never been to prison. And so with all that said, it's unfortunate that I have to go into that, all because someone wants to make mockery out of it, and the fact that I have to bring all this stuff back up, things that I've already lived through, and then having to bring it all back up and think about all of it, it hurts again. Which is why when I was saying when I was writing the book, started writing in the book, Everything's a Test, I stopped writing, but for numerous reasons, because it bothered me to write about it, and also because I didn't want to have to bring this information about my ex-wife out. She's still the mother of my children, and I don't want anything bad to happen to her. I don't want anyone to judge her and look down upon her. I don't want to reveal somebody else's sins. We should be trying to cover up each other's sins, and not not trying to use these as a opportunity to slander people or to mock people or little people, or have them be amused, take it as a form of amusement, looking at someone else's shortcomings or their hardships or their difficulties, and you're amused by it. It's disgusting, man. It's disgusting that people do that. And so I've been trying to avoid that this whole time. But when you have Ziad Karam and these guys that are claiming that they're going to make these videos and they're going to expose me, they're going to destroy Kenneth Wayne Bomer, they're going to destroy him. He's never going to show his face on the internet again. He's going to get out of the field of dawah, and I'm going to destroy him. No, you're not. No, you're not. Because none of this stuff that you're talking about, it's unfortunate that we have to bring it up, but I don't fear any of it because I know the truth of it. Allah knows the truth of it. But again, I have reasons for not wanting to talk about it, because why do we need to talk about something that happened almost 8 years ago? That was almost 8 years ago, right? And we're talking about this stuff. Not because I want to bring it up, but because he's threatening to bring it up, and it's a diversion because he doesn't want to come to the Shura Council. It's all a diversion because he doesn't want to address the fact that he slandered me regarding this fire that did happen in January of this year, the night of the 12th, January 12th, the morning of January the 13th, and he slandered me, just blatantly just slandered me. And he doesn't want to come to the Shura Council to produce this irrefutable proof that he has. I'm telling you right now that it doesn't matter if he comes or if he doesn't come. Truth will be made clear from falsehood, because I'm going to allow myself to be put on trial. Listen, I done went through all the court stuff, Ziad. You think that I that's far worse, man. I was charged with all these. I was charged with 15 charges, man. And Allah saved me. I didn't go to prison. Allah saved me from that. He's surely going to save me from this. But the fact that someone is so disgusting, you calling yourself a Muslim, and you're going into this type of stuff about one of your Muslim brothers, trying to expose and destroy your Muslim brother. You're a Muslim, really? You're a Muslim, Ziad? You really think I'm? Listen, let me ask you a question. Hey, Ziad, do you really think I'm gonna allow you to get away with slandering me? I don't think so, Ziad. That's not going to happen. I'm not going anywhere. As you can see, I don't have a problem addressing these issues. I would rather not have to address these issues because, So listen, you could go read all the police reports. Listen, he was saying that if I didn't stop trying to get him to come to the Shura Council, that he's going to reveal all of this stuff, right? Well, you've already been calling me a wife beater and an alcoholic, and which I've never been an alcoholic, not even close. I've never been drunk a day in my life. But nevertheless, you've already been calling me an alcoholic and a wife beater and an ex-convict and a felon and a liar and a scammer and all the. You've already been doing all that. So you want to go into a little more detail and read the police reports? Keep in mind, anyone who comes across these police reports. Of course, the police are going to they're going to make it sound ugly because they're trying to get convictions. The district attorneys and so forth, they're trying to get convictions. And that's just what they do. That's just what they do. I mean, but obviously what they'll never be able to produce, you'll never be able to find out any prison that I've been to. You know why, Ziad? Because I've never been to prison, Ziad. I'm not a convicted felon, Ziad. You can say it 1,000 times. The truth is the truth, even if no one believes it. And a lie is a lie, even if everyone believes it. I'm going to repeat, Ziad. Guess what? The truth, Ziad, is the truth, even if no one believes it. If no one believes that I'm not a convicted felon, if no one believes that I am not a wife beater, if they believe that I'm a wife beater, if they think I've been to prison, all those things, and I haven't, well, they can believing it doesn't going to make their belief any more a reality, is it? It's not going to make their belief any more true. The truth is the truth, even if no one believes it. A lie is a lie, even if everyone believes it. Now, let me. There's a very interesting quote by Liz Cheney. I'm not a politician by no means. I don't support politicians in particular, but Liz Cheney said that in regards to these types of things, that staying quiet and ignoring the lie is like an endorsement of the liar. Staying quiet and ignoring the lie is like an endorsement of the liar. And so I'm saying this because the Muslim brothers and sisters that are listening, if you believe that Kenny Bomer is telling the truth, which hopefully you do, I mean, I'm telling you the truth, then, and you believe that Ziad is lying, now it's your responsibility to charge this brother and speak out against this brother and rebuke this brother for these lies. Otherwise, it's like you're endorsing it. Listen, it's like you're endorsing it. So I'm asking people for help in the situation to encourage this individual to come to the Shura Council and stand before Allah and the judges on that Shura Council and myself and bring his so-called irrefutable proof and let truth be made clear from falsehood, Ziad. I don't fear anything that you're going to say during that Shura Council. As a matter of fact, you probably won't even show up because you're a coward and a slanderer. And all you can do is go produce these videos, right? And trying to undercut me and undermine me and make me look bad and try to use my situation that I've already lived through as a form of mockery. Do you realize how high the fire is going to be? You're going to be drenched in fire on the day of judgment, Ziad. You're going to be drenched in fire on the day of judgment if you don't turn from what you're doing and seek forgiveness from Allah for what you're doing. You're going to be held accountable for it. There's no two ways about it. Let me go to a particular the Quran. I want to read something real quick. So, Surah Ashura. So for the people, there's people out there, and I thank you for your advice and all those things. Thank you for your advice. But there's people out there, Muslims, that have been sending messages here and there saying, it's best not to talk about these things publicly. Wait a minute, listen. Ziad makes these things public, and therefore, because they're public, I have to address them publicly. I would rather not these things be made public because I don't want to. It's stupid, to be honest. It's ridiculous. But Ziad has attacked me publicly, so I have no other recourse but to address it publicly, right? But what I don't appreciate is people who have like ridiculed the fact that I'm having to address it publicly when it's actually my right. Allah stipulates in the Quran that it's my right. When you've been slandered, when you've been accused, when you've had injustice done against you, and when it's been done publicly, you have a right as a Muslim to demand justice publicly when it's happened publicly. You have a right. So I'm following the Sunnah. I'm following the Sunnah. I'm following the guidance of Allah, and I'm going to prove that here in a moment. Okay. So for the people who don't know your deen well enough, I appreciate your advice and so forth, but I encourage you to seek a little more knowledge, because this is something that should be automatic. You should know that when someone is slandered publicly as a Muslim, you have a right to demand justice against the accuser. Whoever is accused another person, that person has to prove their claims, and the person that's been accused of the wrongdoing has a right to demand justice and demand that the accuser prove their case. We have a right. So I do not need people sending me messages saying, I would wish you brothers would just not address this publicly and all those things. Listen, you go talk to Ziad about that, because Ziad, he's the swine of the humankind that has brought this stuff publicly and made these false accusations public. He's done that. So I'm going to take my right as a Muslim, as a mu'min, a true believer, because I know the deen. Allahu Akbar. I know what my rights are as a Muslim. And I encourage people who don't know their rights that you better seek some knowledge for the sake of Allah. But I appreciate you humbly. Thank you for your thank you. May Allah bless you for your efforts and your intentions. But you got to do some reading. And what Allah says in Surah Ashura, right? Matter of fact, I'm going to read. Let me read verse 12. I believe it's verse 12. Inshallah. No, it's not verse 12. That's a different surah. Let me go to verses 36 through 43. Okay, so verse 36. It says, this is referencing qualities of the obedient, the true Muslims. It says, let me start it. Okay, yeah, I'll just start at 36. It says, whatever pleasures you have been given in this life is no more than a fleeting enjoyment of this worldly life. But what is with Allah is far better lasting for those who believe and put their trust in their Lord, who avoid major sins and shameful deeds and forgive when angered, who respond to their Lord, establish prayer, conduct their affairs. Now listen, who respond to their Lord, establish prayer, and conduct their affairs by mutual consultation. Who conduct their affairs by mutual consultation, right? And who donate from what we have provided for them. And who enforce justice when wronged. I've been wronged, and I want to enforce justice through the Shura Council. Those who enforce justice when wronged, the reward of an evil deed is its equivalent. But whoever pardons and seeks reconciliation, then their reward is with Allah. Now I can forgive Ziyad. I can forgive Ziyad, and I'll reconcile with him just for the sake of Allah, being a Muslim brother. Now I don't want to have any dealings with him beyond that, but I'll forgive him for the sake of Allah. But it says, but whoever pardons and seeks reconciliation, then their reward is with Allah. And it says, He certainly does not like the wrongdoers. And it says in verse 41, there is no blame on those who enforce justice after being wronged. I'm going to say this again, so please pass it on for the layman. There is no blame on those who enforce justice after being wronged. There is no blame on those who enforce justice after being wronged. He slandered me. I have every right to demand justice. I have every right to demand that he comes to a Shura Council stream and stands in before these Muslim brothers and sisters and reveals his quote unquote irrefutable proof if what he's saying is the truth. He can't do it. He can't do it. And he knows he can't do it. He can't do it. So he's Allahu Akbar. He can't do it. I can't wait to do it. September the 25th, Saturday, September the 25th at 2 p.m. We're going to do it with or without him. Again, verse 41. There is no blame on those who enforce justice after being. There is no blame on those who enforce justice after being wronged. Blame is only on those who wrong people and transgress in the land unjustly. It is they who will suffer a painful punishment. And whoever endures patiently and forgives, surely this is the resolve to aspire to. So I can forgive him for the sake of Allah. And so I would encourage people to not listen to slanders and lies and gossip and so forth for the sake of Allah, because we're going to be held accountable for those things on the Day of Judgment. And I would encourage people to contact Ziyad via email or Facebook or wherever you need to contact him. Send him messages on his YouTube channel and tell the brother to come to the Shura Council stream on Saturday, September the 25th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time to produce his evidence regarding this fire. And again, why do we need to go to things that happened eight years ago, Ziyad? What does that have to do with your slanders against me about this fire? Me scamming, so-called scamming people out of their money regarding this fire? Really? That's how desperate you are? What a joke, man. What a pathetic individual he is. And Allah, I'm not going to. It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. So I encourage people to leave him messages. People who've been contacting him, trying to get him to come to the Shura Council. He's been blocking them and been, matter of fact, rude to them. So don't doubt that I don't doubt that he'll be rude to you as well. But we got to stand up against these types of injustices, and let us all learn from these things for the sake of Allah. And I totally agree. Illuminated Sphere. Assalamu alaikum to you, brother. He's very spiteful, and I think he is envious of Kenny and only looking for Islamophobe subs. I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. Now, and I say that humbly. I believe envy has a lot to do with it, and I'm not saying that I'm anyone to be envious of or trying to pat myself on the back or anything like that. But he's obviously got some problems, and so one last thing is that Ziad Karam, you can be assured that I'm not gonna relent. I'm gonna keep putting pressure on you, and we're gonna hold the Shura Council stream, and truth will be made clear from falsehood. And I don't fear anything that you're gonna say or do in any video, anything, any so-called evidence you could bring. I fear none of it. I promise you, because truth is clear from falsehood, and your lies will be exposed. And I expect in this life, absolutely in this life, by Allah, if I'm alive, by Allah, your lies and your slanders will be exposed in this life, and you're going to owe me a recompense on the day of judgment. So let me ask you, Ziad Carroll, do you really think I'm going to allow you to get away with slandering me? I don't think so, Ziad. You picked the wrong person. You picked a fight with a giant. I promise you, I'm not going anywhere. You picked the wrong person, son. By Allah, your slanders are going to be exposed. There's no doubt about it. It's not going to take me long, matter of fact, during that Shura Council stream. But I'm going to be very thorough. And I'm going to go cover every little detail that he's brought up regarding that fire. And Allahu Akbar, truth will be made clear from falsehood. So, listen, everyone, I thank you for watching and listening. I'm sorry I got a little emotional there for a little bit. And hopefully we can all learn from this. And Allahu Akbar. Praise be to Allah. I do bear witness there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is the final servant and seal of all prophets. And we'll end once again by asking a particular question. And that question is, where are you, Ziad? Do you think, really, do you think you making these videos is going to be the answer for all your troubles? Do you think that I'm going to not do the Shura Council stream with or without you to expose your lies and your slanders? And that people aren't going to pick up on it and see that you've slandered me? Of course they are. Of course they are. Because you're a liar, and Allah's going to deal with you justly. There's no question about that. So I'll leave you by saying Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. If you'd like to contact me and about anything, you can send me an email at info@kennybomer.com. info@kennybomer.com. You can also follow me on Clubhouse if you'd like. Just look up Kenny Bomer and I should pop up. You can send me a message there if you'd like, or just again send me an email at info@kennybomer.com. So I thank you for watching, and may Allah have mercy on each and every one of us on the day of judgment. One last thing, because I'll be doing this as an injustice if I don't mention the water well project. So if you'd like to donate to the Consider This TV water well project, I'll post the link in the chat before I go. And may Allah bless you for your efforts and your intentions. Please pray for the project. I didn't mention that, but that's one of the main things that we're doing this about as well, because we need people to understand and trust that when they donate money to these causes, that their money's going to a good cause and it's not going in my pocket. So with that being said, I'll leave it to everyone again. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone, and may truth be made clear from falsehood.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Jungle.